On a scorching summer day in the 1990s, Manila, the heart of the Philippines, was plunged into complete darkness. For 9 long hours, the city stood still. Traffic stopped, offices shut down, panic spread. But what truly caused this massive blackout? Was it just poor infrastructure, or something far more alarming? Let's uncover the eerie truth behind Manila's darkest hours. The blackout begins. It started without warning. Around 3 p.m., a section of Luzon's power grid collapsed, knocking out electricity across Metro Manila. Streets filled with stranded commuters. Electric fans died in classrooms. Emergency generators sputtered in hospitals. It wasn't just the heat, it was fear. No one knew what was happening. News stations went silent. Radio frequencies buzzed with static. All communication broke down, except for landlines. And even those were unreliable. As the sun set, the capital was swallowed by a thick, unnatural silence. Mass confusion and conspiracy, 2 o'clock to 3:30. Rumors began to swirl. Was this a government cover-up? A military coup? Foreign sabotage? In 1992, the Philippines was no stranger to political unrest. With the country still healing from the Marcos regime and multiple coup attempts in the past decade, even a flicker of uncertainty could trigger chaos. Some said they saw tanks on EDSA. Others reported military jets overhead. Parents rushed to schools. Mall employees were locked inside buildings. But officials? Silent. Infrastructure collapse, 3:30 to 5 o'clock. Later investigations revealed the truth. The country's aging power infrastructure was on the verge of collapse. The Bataan nuclear power plant had been mothballed years before. No new major plants had been built, and demand growing every day. Worse, the summer's drought dried up hydroelectric dams, cutting off another vital power source. One overloaded circuit caused a chain reaction that took the entire grid down. And for 9 hours, the capital city of over 8 million people was powerless. 5 o'clock to 6:30. Residents lit candles in their homes. Jeepneys stopped mid-route. Businessmen sat motionless in glass towers. People gathered in the streets, sharing stories, waiting for answers. The air was thick, not just with heat but uncertainty. In the middle of Makati, some said they saw strange lights in the sky. Others believed it was just a mirage. With no radio, no TV, and no power, imagination took over. Personal accounts, 6:30 to 7:30. On Reddit and forums, survivors still recall the blackout vividly. We had to sleep outside. The heat was unbearable. Everything stopped. It felt like the end of the world. I was a kid, but I remember thinking something terrible was about to happen. These weren't just technical failures. They were collective traumas. Resolution and government response, 7:30 to 9. By dawn the next day, power slowly returned, but the fear remained. President Fidel Ramos's administration would later declare a state of emergency. Energy reform was prioritized. Independent power producers were called in. The country scrambled to catch up with its electricity needs. What seemed like just a blackout had exposed the country's deep vulnerability. From that point on, the energy sector would never be the same. This wasn't just a technical glitch. It was one of the most unsettling moments in Philippine urban history. Let's take a deeper look at what really happened during the Great Blackout of 1990s Manila and why it scarred a generation. Most blackouts last a few minutes, maybe an hour. But 9 hours across an entire megacity, that's something else. Manila wasn't prepared. No traffic lights, no running water, no fans, no television, no emergency broadcasts. The silence was deafening. It wasn't just the noise that disappeared. It was the normal rhythm of life. And in that pause, fear began to grow. People didn't just worry about heat or food. They started to think the country might collapse. To truly understand this event, we need to go back further. After the Marcos era, the government halted plans for the Bataan nuclear power plant. Corruption scandals and safety fears led to its mothballing, but they didn't replace it with anything. By the early 90s, the energy grid was running on outdated equipment, old oil plants, and a handful of hydroelectric dams. One overloaded line, and the system collapsed like dominoes. This wasn't a one-time accident. It was a warning sign. People still talk about it online. We slept on cardboard outside. The heat was unbearable. Everything just stopped. It felt like the end of the world. I was a kid, but I remember thinking something evil was coming. These weren't exaggerated memories. They were the real emotional scars of an urban blackout. When the lights go out, people realize how fragile modern life really is. And in a city like Manila, where millions rely on electricity just to survive, that fear becomes very real, very fast. The blackout forced the government to act. New policies were written, independent power producers were brought in. The EPIR law and privatization of the grid followed years later. But more than policy, the people remembered. The blackout changed how Filipinos view electricity, not as a luxury, but as a lifeline. Today, many remember the 1990s as the darkest time, literally. But in that darkness, the country found a turning point. The blackout mystery may have been caused by wires and water, but its impact was psychological. It reminded the Philippines how fragile order could be, and how quickly silence could fall. And sometimes, the scariest mysteries don't need ghosts, just a city in complete darkness. You've just explored one of the 10 curious things history tried to hide. But there's always more beneath the surface. If mysteries like this keep you up at night, hit that like button and subscribe to 10 Curious. See you in the next one. Stay curious.